Hello and welcome to Original Soundchat, where video game music is a work of art. On each episode, it's our goal to help you learn about 2 soundtracks from the world of games, as well as the people, stories, and critical tracks behind them. My name is Joe DeVader.
And I'm Peter Spezia. We're brought to you by Anonymous Dinosaur and Rhymes with Asia. It's time to appreciate great OSTs and the games that they come from without getting too bogged down in music theory. Up first this week for our 2 games is 2014's Mario Kart 8, the refined racer that adds anti-gravity track sections and new items, all on the way to becoming the best-selling Wii U and Switch game of all time.
Following that is a game described as Rhythm Violence, the eldritch and surreal adventure of a small beetle fighting enemies on a metallic track, 2016's Thumper.
So yes, obviously the theme this week is tracks. And not talking about musical tracks, but the things that you are driving on in some capacity, whether you're on all the Mario Karts or you're a metallic beetle. Also, contrarily, one of the easiest games for a new gamer to play, and one of the hardest games out there, arguably.
Yeah, there is a massive divide between the difficulty of one game and the other. Thumper is one of the hardest games I've ever played.
I don't think I made it through the demo on PlayStation VR. It's tough. What else have you been playing this week, Joe?
Well, it was mostly trying to play Thumper again in preparation for this show specifically. I did start a game called Bug Fables, The Everlasting Sapling, on Switch.
Yeah.
I'm actually streaming it. I will be streaming one chapter of it every Wednesday from 6 p.m. EST, just until I'm done, over at twitch.tv/Nintendo World Report. But that's really it. I mean, I'm almost through the first disc of Final Fantasy IX. I have more to say on that later, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, Bug Fable is definitely a callback to old school Paper Mario. That's for sure.
It is literally the most, if they won't make it, then we'll make it. Some of the sound effects almost feel straight up lifted out of Thousand Year Door.
Wow. Wouldn't surprise me there. I'm back into Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I just finished the Corneo section of the game, so a chunk of the way through, though it's certainly interesting. Bless my girlfriend for watching the games that I play every now and then. Coming off of The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and then going into that section of Final Fantasy VII Remake for her to say, this game's weird.
Oh boy, is it.
You just have to say, yeah, this game is definitely weird. Like, you can't defend that. There's no defending.
Don Corneo is definitely a bizarre character. That's something that was fully kept intact from 1997.
And then, here we are fighting a house, and it's just like...
Oh, that boss fight is awesome.
It's great, but it's, again... This game is weird, but I'm enjoying it. It's one of, if not a shoo-in for the best soundtrack of the year.
100%.
Might just put it in stone there. It'll be tough to see what could possibly beat it. That's for sure. But other things that are happening this week, let's talk about some composer follow-up headlines, some stories of the composers that we've been talking about through all the episodes of this show. What are they working on these days? What's going on in the video game industry? First of all, the game Fall Guys is taking over games this week. It is available as a free game on PlayStation Plus. It came out of a beta on Steam, so now it's available there. Of course, it's an online game, so it's getting bombarded with, server hits and whatnot, but it's essentially different mini games to be like a battle royale platformer, who can win the mini game out of several players. And this comes from Devolver publishing the game. So, my surprise to discover that it's Yukio Kallio who is working on the music for that game, and so many people having difficulty getting his tunes out of their heads.
Yeah, I also didn't know it until you told me. That's really cool. I haven't had a chance to try Fall Guys yet. just because I haven't had a chance to sit down. I know my roommate was playing it last night, and I see it all over Twitter. People are loving it. The little music I did hear while my roommate was playing seemed very good. And I mean, that makes sense considering who did it. Meanwhile, Night School, the makers of Oxenfree and Afterparty, have announced their next game being Next Stop Nowhere. It is an Apple Arcade exclusive, at least for now. As far as I'm aware, the games on Apple Arcade don't stay exclusive forever.
Right.
But this one might, I don't know. It has been confirmed that Andrew Rorman, aka Scientific, is doing music for the project. It is about a road trip through space, and it is coming soon.
He's taking suggestions for like certain track names on Twitter. It's really cool. Go check him out on Twitter there if you're interested in contributing there. Meanwhile, World's End Club, which is, I guess, the localized title for Death March Club. This is the project from 2Kyo Games, which we've referenced in the past. It's the collaboration between the writers of Danganronpa and the Zero Escape series, so Kodaka and Uchikoshi, and therefore Masafumi Takada is the composer that is part of this 2Kyo Games developer. Well, their collaboration was supposed to launch at the end of 2020, and it's been noted that World's End Club, or Death March Club in Japan, is coming to Apple Arcade on September 4th. Again, it's one of those things where, as you said, it's expected to come to consoles and PC maybe by the end of 2020, but starting on Apple Arcade then. I'm curious. I love those two writers.
This is the first I've heard of this game. I know the Danganronpa guy just came out with an FMV game like last month.
Yeah.
But that's all I know on that. I haven't played it at all.
We had a passing mention of it on the show, but that's literally it.
Meanwhile, a new trailer has released for Imposter Factory, the latest game by Kan Gao, who made To the Moon and Finding Paradise. And I'm so excited for that game. It still doesn't have a release date. It just says coming soon-ish, I think is the exact words that he uses.
So next year, maybe.
Next year, maybe a few months. It could be next month for all we know. It won't be. But I'm super excited for it. He is describing this To the Moon 3 because it technically is. But he's also kind of hinted that it might be a horror game. And I don't know what that means. But I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Yeah, the end of the trailer seems to suggest that for sure. And then finally, there was a PlayStation State of Play this week. I think one of the biggest highlights was the showing off of The Pathless, which they show off as coming to PlayStation 5 at the end of this year. And I'm like, man, that music sounds really good. But I mean, maybe I'll look it up later. Oh, sure enough, Austin Wintory is on the score. Yeah, okay. That would be why. So I'm excited for that game, and especially with his music.
So 2 fun facts. 1, I realized it was Austin Wintory because I saw Lena Raine tweeting about it and tagging Austin and telling him how good a job he did. So that's how I figured that out. And 2, I walked past The Pathless at PAX so many times, and it was one of the games that I actually really regret not being able to give a chance. Because I never had time to sit down and actually play it, and then I wasn't able to get an Annapurna appointment or anything like that. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play it. It's one of my regrets. That game looks fantastic, and the little music we heard during that showcase was amazing.
Yeah, sign me up for that one. Very, very interested. Let's get into talking about our first game this week, and we're talking about none other than Mario Kart 8. Haven't talked about a Mario Kart game on the show yet.
Yeah.
How is that possible more than 80 episodes in?
I don't think we've talked about a racing game.
Ooh, I think you're right. Well, there's the first time for everything, and especially it's one of the best racing games of all time. Mario Kart 8, a spin-off of the Mario series and the 8th main installment in the Mario Kart series, released for Japan on Wii U on May 29th, 2014. North America and Europe got it the next day on May 30th. Australia the day after on May 31st, 2014. Then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was sort of like the definitive edition of the game, and it was a worldwide release on Nintendo Switch on April 28th, 2017. The game is developed by Nintendo EAD, with additional work by Bandai Namco Studios there in the credits. And also, the game is published by Nintendo. What to say about Mario Kart 8? It is the king of all kart racers. You can say, what you will about different racing games, whether you like the pure simulation of Gran Turismo, the simulation with arcadey rewind elements of the Forza series, or the straight up kart racing that Mario Kart has continued to establish its dominance again and again and again. You have in this game up to 12 players in a race, all sorts of wacky, hazard-filled tracks where characters are racing around and you're picking up coins, you're picking up items, and these items try to even the odds and make it a competitive race. You have characters in this game all across the Mario universe and beyond, with different karts, bikes, or ATVs, which are new in this game, and they all have swappable parts that you can try to customize the vehicle statistics to make this racer, make this kart, this vehicle completely your own for the optimal driving style that you have. And there's no story. It's really just all about having a good time with karts, with friends. Joe, here's what I'll ask you. What are our experiences with Mario Kart 8?
I weirdly enough never bought it on Switch, and I keep telling myself I need to just get around to buying it on Switch, but I did have it on Wii U, and I had all the DLC, and it's my favorite Mario Kart game by far. Because I'm one of the few people that doesn't like Mario Kart 64. I think it's not great, and so come at me, gamers. But I really, really like Mario Kart 8. The fact that other Nintendo characters came in is weird, but also really cool. And it has the best soundtrack of any of the Mario Kart games. Like, easily, no contest.
Without question, and it's why we had to bring it up on the show here for sure. I feel like I play Mario Kart 8 every week, specifically Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch. The games that my girlfriend has gotten into learning how to play games on consoles and whatnot, like this is the one she has taken to most often, has taken to the best. I would say she's done really well with picking up games. I'll give her that. I'm so impressed by it, honestly. But Mario Kart is the clear favorite in the household. And so it feels like every week we have races together. Now, granted, yes, she definitely has beaten me a couple times. I will put that out there. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And even if you're being screwed by items, it's always a good time. It's a gorgeous game to play. Wow. What an experience. And it's one of these games where there were some flaws to it on Wii U, but it's the ultimate in kart racing on Switch. And yeah, let's get into a little bit of that. Because looking up development history for Mario Kart 8 is really interesting in a way where it's all about like Nintendo not saying much as far as like the inner workings. Like they even did an interview with Kotaku about the music, which we'll get into. And even then it was like saying things that you'd kind of figure and kind of guess, but nothing like too deep as far as like learned secrets. Anyway, Mario Kart 8 was confirmed to be in development at a January 2013 Nintendo Direct showcase, then revealed 6 months later officially at E3 2013. The 8 on the title signifies the 8th main title, supposedly, but it's really all about being a Mobius strip, where like the paper of the Mobius strip, so to speak, turns and the racers are still on it, upside down, really emphasizing the anti-gravity aspect as the main theme and the main twist on racing for this installment. Early in development, the idea of using a drill to penetrate the ground that was considered, but it was quickly discarded for just not really being as creative as the anti-gravity idea. There are 4 new items in this game amongst the collection: the boomerang flower, the piranha plant, the crazy 8, which is all items at once, and the Super Horn, which is the attempt at nullifying the blue spiny shell. There was also the Luigi's Death Stare meme that came out around this time, where players got to watch replays and save highlights to Mario Kart TV, where you could do uploads on YouTube and all that. Oh man, Mario Kart 8 was like I remember the first clip I watched on YouTube in 1080p 60 frames per second. When you could watch 60 frames per second video for the first time on YouTube, like watching Mario Kart footage, Mario Kart 8 was magical to see that in a video player on YouTube. But saving those replays to have Luigi like give the slow turnaround and look back to an opposing racer and just have that like menacing look definitely turned into plenty of memes. Great.
He looks so angry.
He does.
Like, you deserve this.
Yeah, that's right. Nintendo actually did a really good job of promoting that. I think they even embraced that in their E3 2014 presentation or something like that, or at least some Nintendo Direct. Like, and they're actually credited for like being cognizant of that just really well. There were various updates to Mario Kart 8 throughout the year or two post-launch, including the addition of 200cc mode, which was the fastest driving racing ever seen in a Mario Kart game. Made it unruly and you needed to use the brake. Let's just say that. Also odd DLC partnerships like with Mercedes-Benz.
That commercial still scares me.
It's a weird one. It's a weird inclusion. Also the idea because Amiibo were really hot at the time in 2014, especially once they launched later that year, especially with Super Smash Bros. You could later use Amiibo to scan it in on your Wii U and get custom costumes for the Mii character based on whatever Amiibo you scanned. There's some way to include it, fine. But the real star for additions and updates to Mario Kart 8 was Nintendo embracing a season pass kind of idea with 2 prominent downloadable content packs. Each of these packs had 3 new characters, 4 vehicles, and 8 tracks. The first DLC pack, which launched in November 2014, featured Tanuki Mario, Cat Peach, and Link as playable characters, while the second pack, in April 2015, featured Dry Bowser, Villager, and Isabelle. Also, for players who purchased both packs, you got different skins for Yoshi, you got different skins for Shy Guy. Just fun little options. But then in 2017, with Nintendo Switch, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe enhanced the battle multiplayer mode and also added new characters featuring Bowser Jr., Drybones, King Boo, and Inkling, the boy and girl from Splatoon, along with an unlockable gold Mario costume for Metal Mario.
And shouldn't they have known that the character we actually wanted was Funky Kong the whole time?
I mean, if you had Funky mode for...
I'm so sad that he never came back after Mario Kart Wii. I'm so sad.
That was a great character in Mario Kart Wii. I had forgotten. You're absolutely right. Wow. Mario Kart 8 reviewed very well with a Metacritic score of 88. I think it's really the best kart racer ever made. And Digital Foundry even deemed it to be near perfection with phenomenal attention to detail, featuring a magnificent visual package and magical replayability. I mean, that Nintendo compression, that Nintendo magic is right here in Mario Kart 8. But the big hang up of the original game was it was a very poor substandard battle mode for multiplayer. Like one of those, like they shouldn't have even tried. But then you get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and that fared even better with a Metacritic score of 92. Mario Kart 8 won Best Family Game and Best Sports Racing Game at the Game Awards in 2014. Odd that it was only nominated for Best Family Game and Best Multiplayer in 2017. The game won Racing Game of the Year at the DICE Awards in both 2014 and 2017, and it was nominated for 4 BAFTAs in 2014, including Best Game and Audio Achievement. I think the best one, though, it won the award for Old Game of the Year in Giant Bomb's 2017 Game of the Year awards. I feel like every award show needs to have that for different remasters and things like that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a really good award. Wow.
By the end of March 2020, Mario Kart 8 had sold over 8.45 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling Wii U game. Based on that sales data, over half of all Wii U owners have a copy of the game. It's a pretty amazing attach rate, but also not as many Wii U's. Makes it doubly impressive then that as of June 30th, 2020, total sales for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe reached 26.74 million units, making it the best Nintendo Switch game. Best selling on Wii U and Switch is incredible, honestly.
So let's see how long it keeps that, because Animal Crossing is coming.
It's nipping, but I don't know how much legs it'll have after the big surge, especially in the pandemic. We'll see. I think Mario Kart always sells. It always sells. You get this new Switch, you're getting Mario Kart, right? Right?
Hey, I haven't bought Mario Kart yet. I'm actually probably gonna this weekend now that I'm thinking about it.
Joe aside, you're buying Mario Kart.
I already owned it for Wii U.
Well, that's still no excuse. I mean, honestly, it's a fantastic presentation and package on Switch. It's one of the best games on the platform, I'd say, for sure. As far as the legacy, since its release on Switch, there's Mario Kart Tour, which released September 25th, 2019 on mobile. And like rumors of Mario Kart 9? I don't know how soon that'll come. They're still riding that 8 Deluxe wave pretty well, I think. But, if they always want to make more money with DLC and things like that, that's what the mobile game's for. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, the mobile game, from the sound of it, does real well.
Yeah. Oh, it does real well at pulling in that money, I bet for sure. The composer that we're going to highlight this week for Mario Kart 8 is Atsuko Asahi. Because the main composer on the game, I believe, is Shiho Fuji. We've talked about her, but we have not talked about Miss Asahi. Atsuko Asahi, born May 28th, 1985 in Yokohama, Kanagawa Prefecture in Japan. She has been with Nintendo since 2010. And you can follow her on Twitter at ATN Asahi, where her biography says, in Japanese of course, "I like otters."
Don't we all?
This was all I could find on Atsuko Asahi. Maybe it's the Japanese thing. Maybe it's the Nintendo thing. Not a big English internet presence that I could find. But she has a pretty interesting discography for composing at Nintendo. She composed for Steel Diver and Steel Diver Subwars. Also worked on Animal Crossing New Leaf, Pikmin 3. Hey, that's in the news with Pikmin 3 Deluxe coming out on Switch on October 30th at the end of this year.
Hey.
She arranged music on The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker HD. Of course, Mario Kart 8 here. Her most recent lead composer presence, ARMS. She did the ARMS main theme among several and many others for that game, but wow, that's her big recent composing standout for sure. And she was also on the Super Mario Maker 2 composing team.
Yeah, the ARMS main theme is really, really good. So she did good damn work on that.
Yeah, seeing that is just like, oh, yeah, okay, that's the standout if you don't want to consider Mario Kart 8 here, which had a composing team of Shiho Fuji, Atsuko Asahi, Ryo Nagamatsu, and Yasuaki Iwata. Kenta Nagata, who we've talked about before for his work on the original The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, he was the sound director for this game. And he noted, quote, "The music used throughout the Mario Kart series isn't intended to be just background music. Instead, we aim to produce pieces that will stick in players' minds. We consider it a great success if the other production staff start unconsciously humming the tunes as they're racing." Yeah, absolutely. Because Nagata also notes that the secret behind a good Mario Kart track is that it can survive being listened to, quote, "on loop hundreds, if not thousands of times without getting on people's nerves." And that's the truth for sure.
It's that and battle music. That's also the for like an RPG. Very similar philosophies there.
Yeah, 100% for sure. But we mentioned why this game in particular for Mario Kart stands out so much, and it's because it's the first time that the series used live recorded music. And boy, it shows. It sounds amazing. Now, granted, it does mean less time, tinkering on computers, trying to get those MIDIs sounding just right. How could an electric guitar sound? Like tinkering, tweaking. But then you're also spending more time as a result recording the musicians and mixing it to sound just right. So what does a live performed Mario Kart soundtrack sound like? Let's get into the 5 critical tracks for Mario Kart 8. Starting with the first one, it has to be Mario Kart 8. Yeah, clearly the definitive song for the game whenever you boot it up. It's the main theme. It's the title screen. It is also composed by Atsuko Asahi. So another stellar composing job on this one because, wow, it really gets you in that Mario Kart 8 mood for sure. She said, quote, "I wanted the players' immediate impression of the main theme to be that the music had been powered up through the use of real instruments. My aim was for the track to have a feel of a live session, so as much as possible I gave the musicians space to improvise, emphasizing creativity more than I did when working on tracks for courses in the game." And yeah, it shows. I mean, it opens with the big band horns, the bass, and then the horns lead with the melody, passing it off to an electric guitar riff, back and forth, good trade-offs, and then moving on to this synth section that you hear at the end of the clip. Just a phenomenal opening main theme title screen piece.
I find it really funny that her main goal was to make it so that you knew, you listen to this and then this is a new level for Mario Kart soundtracks because we're using real instruments. And what instrument does she use to really show that off? Horns.
Yeah.
Because, as I said I think it was 2 episodes ago, 99.9% of horn midis are really bad. And so when real horns show up, you know it.
100%. It's the genuine article here, and it just really gets you into it. The next track on the Critical 5, we gotta go to the first track. Well, the first driving track, that's for sure. This is Mario Kart Stadium. Composed by Yasuaki Iwata. More often than not, this is going to be players' first jump into driving on a Mario Kart track in this game. It's the first track in the Mushroom Cup. I mean, it's the simplest track and kind of introduces you to like the idea of what the anti-gravity is like. And as a result, it has this quintessential Mario Kart-like melody with the horns being a big fanfare with something that'll just, be an earworm, get you excited to listen to it, make you not tired of it. And that bass, again, is rocking it. This little section in the clip with the fluttering trill of a flute definitely evokes feelings of gliding when you're off the ramp and the glider opens up and you're kind of swooping and collecting coins in the air. It really gives you that feeling, or really evokes memories of that. I think it's, the essential opening Mario Kart track for this game, and it does such a good job at being the perfect piece for it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, honestly. This is one of the more, like, memorable starts of a track, because, like, obviously there's always, like, a Mario Stadium, whatever, I don't remember what they're called. Circuit, yeah, that's what they're called. I'm thinking of Wario Stadium or Waluigi Stadium, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But there's always that kind of thing, and I think this is also, in terms of the series, like, standout best version of that kind of track.
Yes.
It's very good.
Number 3, we're getting to some real musicianship here. A number 3 on the Critical 5 for Mario Kart 8. This is Dolphin Shoals. Once again composed by Atsuko Asahi. She did an amazing job with this one. This is track 2, and I'd say the best cup, the best little quartet of 4 tracks, the Star Cup, with the Sunshine Airport, Dolphin Shoals, Electrodrome, finishing with the best track of the whole game, Mount Wario. So Dolphin Shoals here really stands out, especially in the pre-launch hype cycle of the game when they're showing videos of like the live musicians recording. It's this alto sax that's killing it with solo. And this in particular is the part of the track when you're out of the water, when you're submerged in the water and the dolphins are jumping all around. It kind of shifts to more of like a steel drum like melody, but then you come out of the water and the saxophone is killing it. It's so good. Asahi noted, though, that the saxophone part, the translation said it is 1 key up compared to that other steel drum-like part. I'm going to guess it means half step. I didn't really compare the two for exact listening, but there's a very slight key change. And the splash sound effect of coming out of the water masks the crossfade between the two. I would have never, I guess, thinking about it, like, yeah, I guess those are different keys, but it didn't occur to me that it's like, oh yeah, that's how they cover the change.
And that is one thing that we should probably point out, is that this game also has a dynamic soundtrack that changes on different parts of the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like every song has a specific anti-gravity version.
Yeah.
Or like in Dolphin Shoals' case, there's the underwater versions. And it's all super cool. And, oh man, yeah, no, this song is really, really good. Jazz is not usually where I go for a beach track theme, but wow, she knocked this one out of the park.
Absolutely. That's really good to note. Yeah, with the anti-gravity ones, generally kind of pumping a little more on the bass, on the rhythm. That's a really good point. Wow. Such a good soundtrack. I mean, the performances do give a chance, if you have, to watch those YouTube videos of Meet the Mario Kart 8 musicians, and you see them performing live. So good.
Especially of the next track.
Yes, absolutely. And a reason why it got the leg up. Number 4 on the Mario Kart 8 Critical 5. This is Big Blue. Big Blue is the only DLC track here on the Critical 5. It is the last track in the Bell Cup, which is the second cup in the second DLC pack. So it's like the bottom right on that selection screen. This is originally composed by Naoto Ishida, and this version is arranged by Kenta Nagata. Because this is an F-Zero track, Big Blue and Mute City are both F-Zero tracks in this game, And so you get the original pieces, the original melodies from that original F-Zero game on Super Nintendo, all spruced up in this live performance Mario Kart 8 style. I was so torn between these two, between Big Blue and Mute City.
Oh, for me, Big Blue wins hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, I don't know, like something about when I've been playing it more and more as of late with my girlfriend, like going into that final track on Mute City is a special feeling. I don't know what it is, but I think it is the musicianship overall. And I'm just overall more partial to the Big Blue melody throughout years as a Nintendo fan. These screaming sax solos trading off with the electric guitar, it seems like they had like full range to solo however they wanted to. It's amazing. And just a great piece to listen to for a fantastic track. I mean, F-Zero tracks fit in perfectly with Mario Kart 8, especially when you get up to like 200cc.
Sure makes you wish they'd make an F-Zero game.
Yeah, especially with this kind of soundtrack quality for sure.
But no, this is like for me, far and above the best song to come out of any of the DLC. In general, this is the best version of Big Blue there's ever been. Ever?
Yeah.
Like this is the standout version of this song that has ever existed. And oh, that sax kills it. That sax kills it so hard. He's so good.
I think they got like the best musicians in Japan, like that they could. I think that is evident here, and that's pretty sure that's something they also noted in interviews. Wrapping up the Critical 5, though, it has to be N64 Rainbow Road. The original piece composed by Kenta Nagata. This version arranged by Ryo Nakamatsu. It is the last track on the Lightning Cup. And what else do you have to say? It's Rainbow Road. It's where you go when you die. It's Rainbow Road. Such a good melody. The orchestration, should I say? Like, how all the instruments are put together. It's arranged so well. Everything is slapping and rocking. The bass, once again, is one of the standout stars, but the horn section really drives it, especially the lead trumpet in the verses. I absolutely love this song. It's definitely my favorite from the soundtrack. And I even remember, I was like taking a nap on the couch and my girlfriend was playing Mario Kart 8. And she says that when she got to this track, this piece, like I must have rolled over, I woke up or something, and like I started humming along with the music. And then I fell back asleep. And I'm like, yeah, it would be this one that would make the most sense for that happening. Love this one.
I mean, this is the most iconic song to ever come out of Mario Kart in general. Like, just in general, for a reason. It's really, really good, and this is the best version of it there's ever been. And it makes me really wish that Rainbow Road stage had come back and smash.
Oh, man, yeah.
But yeah, there's a reason why Rainbow Road 64 is still to this day, despite every single Mario Kart coming with its own version of Rainbow Road, including Mario Kart 8. There's a reason why 64 is still the one that people gravitate towards as like one of the best tracks in Mario Kart history. It's just really good.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, the Rainbow Road piece for Mario Kart 8 is fantastic as well, but this is like legendary status, I think, so it had to be here. On the cutting room floor, we have some tracks, and Joe, you have a couple. Hit me with them.
My two are a little bit weird, but the first one is Wee Moo Moo Meadows. The original song was composed by Asuka Ota, and this version was arranged by Ryo Nagamatsu. It is the first track in the Shell Cup, being Moo Moo Meadows from Mario Kart Wii. This song is just really nice. Like, it's really nice to listen to, and it feels good. The violin part makes me gravitate towards it really hard. Like, this song is very relaxing to listen to. And that's not something you would expect from a Mario Kart game. But, I don't know, I absolutely adore this piece.
Yeah, it's the first track for it being a retro stage, like a track that has been on a previous Mario Kart game, but then they've spruced it up with the newer mechanics. And yeah, it's really done an amazing justice with the performance. The fiddle work here, the violin work is another standout in that YouTube video of live performances. Like, seeing him play, it just sounds amazing. Did a great job. It's a good pick for Cutting Room Floor.
It makes me want to go pick up a violin again, like many violin pieces do. I've wasted my life. My other track on the Cutting Room Floor is Electrodrome. Because what is the concept of keeping a single tone? This was composed by Shiho Fuji. It is the third track in the Star Cup, and it's exactly what you would expect from a track called Electrodrome. Just a bunch of really heavy electronics. Oh, this song is so good. It kind of reminds me of what would later come out as the gym leader battle theme in Sword and Shield.
Oh yeah.
Has some definite similarities to that, but I really like this track. I really like this song. It's all just so good.
It's fantastic. It's almost like you're at a rave. Some versions like have like shy guys in the background, like like going to the beat. Or also think of like when you're drifting around corners and the diegetic sound on the track where it's like you're drifting along there. Oh, what a good piece. A lot of different variations to this one with that dynamic soundtrack, but yeah, you're right. It's exactly what you'd imagine it being. And again, yeah, it's on the best cup.
I do want to give a quick shout out. Obviously, no samples or anything, but it was between these two, but it was almost Shy Guy Falls and Baby Park.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really like those songs. And also, Waluigi Pinball isn't in this game. So actually, this is the worst Mario Kart game.
Oh, well, okay. My tracks on the Cutting Room Floor. The first one is Cloud Top Cruise. Another one composed by Atsuko Asahi. Boy, do we know how to pick them. This is the first track in Special Cup. I think it just has a really different vibe where you're amongst clouds and there's like stormy variations with a little more electric guitar for that dynamic part of the track. But again, like clouds, there are vines growing so high up in the sky. And the trumpet really shines in the solo melody here. I don't think it's in this part of the clip in particular, but again, just more great horn work. But it really stands out because of one little inclusion of a Mario piece from the Galaxy series. Apparently, once orchestral sound was determined to be used for the piece, Asahi noted that it was right at that moment that I decided to incorporate the Gusty Garden Galaxy theme into it. There really isn't any deep meaning behind using it though, I'm afraid. And so when you're playing it, if you're familiar with Mario Kart games, this melody that you hear in the clip pushes on through and you're like, oh, the Galaxy memories. I don't know what it's doing here, but it sounds fantastic. Apparently, she noted that the Good Egg Galaxy theme was kind of used as a counter melody to the Wii version of Rainbow Road, which I had no idea, but if you're a fan of Mario Kart Wii and its soundtrack, there's a little gem there.
She, I believe, Atsuko Asahi herself did a remix of this song for Smash, and it is fantastic. It is the best version of Cloud Top Cruise that there is. Part of me feels kind of let down when it's like, yeah, somebody remixed this song. Who was it? Oh, the person that wrote it originally. But also, hey, Atsuko Asahi needs to be on more games immediately.
100%. If the ARMS theme is any indication. My other track on the cutting room floor, this is Animal Crossing Summer. Hey, this one is composed by Monika Kataoka. We talked about her in the Animal Crossing New Leaf episode. There you go. More people from the show that we've referred to. Animal Crossing is the last track in the Crossing Cup. That makes sense. That was part of DLC number 2 as well. Just another shining violin part. I mean, my goodness. Joe has got to be another one that makes it stand out to you for sure. And I think Summer is the best of the Animal Crossing quartet here because the stage changes based on whatever season it wants to be. And the track, the music behind it changes as well.
Oh yeah, this violin part absolutely stands out to me. I love this song. I remember when this track first came out, people were freaking out because I guess somewhere in this song, you could find bits and pieces of the original Animal Crossing theme, like the GameCube game. And that was like the first time it had been not ignored. Because most of the time it was either the New Leaf theme or the Wild World City Folk theme. And those were the two themes that Animal Crossing got to use. So I remember people getting very excited about that. But I also agree, Summer is the best version by far. Though I really like Spring too. I like Spring a lot.
What will I never forget about Mario Kart 8? It's a game with perfect multiplayer. I love playing it with my girlfriend. I treasure it so much. Getting to do that, honestly, like at least once every week. It's amazing. And if I'm asked, you want to play Mario Kart? Absolutely, I want to play Mario Kart. Not only is the company great, but the game is fantastic as well. It will continue to hold up throughout the years until we get a new installment, and hopefully that continues to improve.
Well, I'm going to have to buy it on Switch soon. Maybe we'll have to do a Mario Kart night one of these days.
I think so. I think we will. Let's talk about our next game, though, but before we do, we'd like to highlight a fan cover, a fan remix, whether it's on YouTube, OC Remix, wherever. It's got to be Mario Kart 8. It's got to be that title screen theme. When we're talking about like great covers of music from this game, I found a band called Rundfunk Tanzorchester Ehrenfeld. This is a band that apparently went on the German late night show Neo Magazine Royale in ZDF. And this was on September 27th, 2018. This band played the Mario Kart 8 title screen theme on German late night TV. Fantastic. Find a YouTube clip of it. I sure did. Here, we'll play it for you here. Hope you enjoy. We'll be right back.
Let's change gears so hard, incredibly hard, and talk about Thumper. Thumper was originally released for PC, PS4, and PSVR on October 10th, 2016. An Oculus Rift release would follow on December 20th, 2016, my birthday. A Nintendo Switch release on May 18th, 2017, and an Xbox One release on August 18th, 2017. It has since also released on iOS, Oculus Go, Android, Oculus Quest, and Google Stadia. Cannot even begin to imagine playing this game over a streaming service.
How?
How the hell? I can't beat this game without input lag. Even a microsecond of input lag would make this game unbeatable. Genuinely don't understand. It was developed and published by Drool, which is a team made up of just 2 people, being the programmer Mark Fleury and artist/musician Brian Gibson. There's really not much story to Thumper. Here's how the shop page for Thumper sums it up. Quote, "You are a space beetle. Brave the hellish void and confront a maniacal giant head from the future." That's the whole story of Thumper. That's all there is. You are a beetle, and you are moving fast. Thumper is a rhythm game, though its marketing prefers to refer to it as, quote, rhythm violence, which sounds nonsensical until you play it, and then it makes perfect sense. It is very similar to the game Audiosurf, if you have ever played that, except imagine if Audiosurf had a lot more input required and also hated you to the very core of your being. Then you get Thumper. You control the aforementioned space beetle as it speeds along a cold metallic track through a very surreal landscape, having to hit buttons in time with the music to brace against obstacles, drift on corners, and even, defeat enemies. There are boss fights in Thumper. If the player fails to avoid an obstacle, the beetle will lose its wing shield, but certain points along the track can give you your shield back, but if you fail again without it, you will die and be sent back to the last checkpoint. Levels are basically split into several sections, up to, I think one level that I've played has up to 20 sections, somewhere around there. And each one, the end of each one serves as a checkpoint. You will be sent back there when you die. Beating the game will unlock a Play Plus mode, where the player must beat the entire level in one life, with a death taking them not to the nearest checkpoint, but instead back to the very beginning of the level, meaning I would make it to the end of level 2 and then just put the game down because it's not happening after that. So what? This is where I will ask. What are your experiences with Thumper?
I own the game on PlayStation 4, especially for use on PlayStation VR, and I've tried it through the PSVR demo disc. It's one of the games available there for one of those demo discs. Not sure. I don't think I was able to beat that demo. I feel like I got really far into it and then got so frustrated that I'm like, we're going to stop that and maybe I'll eventually play the actual game from the very beginning. Because wow, that is difficult. Super cool in VR. I will say that. It's a fantastic experience to have, headphones, the music pumping through, and yes, the very surreal visuals, but it is a challenging game for someone who likes rhythm games like myself. I was blown away by how difficult it was.
I desperately want to try it in VR. I think with headphones and in VR, I'd probably actually be better at it because, this game's hard. It's one of the hardest games I've ever played.
One of the hardest games we've talked about on this show.
I think so. I think it might be among the hardest games ever made. And not in an unfair way. I think it is brilliantly made. It's so good. If you want a rhythm game that is going to absolutely kick your ass, in every possible way, Thumper is a game you absolutely need to play. It is fantastic. Its visuals are amazing. And it is a game I will never beat. I have come to terms with the fact that Thumper is just a game I'm never going to beat, and that's okay. I go back to it every once in a while. Like I went back to it to sort of refresh myself before this episode because I wanted to make sure that I remembered correctly how Thumper plays. I made it to the final boss of level 3. After playing for like an hour, I made it there. According to my save file, the farthest I've ever made it is about 4 or 5, like a third into level 4, and I've never made it past that. There are 9 levels in Thumper, for context. It is such a hard game. It is such a cool game, and I want to get into what makes Thumper so cool. This is going to be a bizarre game to talk about, and it's also a really weird game to follow up Mario Kart 8 with.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that, because I think the big key that we got to stress is like, it doesn't sound so hard. Like, what's the big deal? Most rhythm games, if you mess up, if you get bad, whatever, it's okay. You're able to recover. You're able to get back in the groove. No.
Thumper's merciless.
You need to get it perfectly each section every time. It's ridiculous. It's amazing, like you said, but challenging.
Thumper is a merciless game. It does not pull any punches, and it does not care if you feel good about yourself. But beating a level in Thumper is like up there with beating a Dark Souls boss. It feels so good.
Sure.
So, as mentioned earlier, Thumper was developed by a 2-man team with Mark Fleury doing the programming and Brian Gibson doing the music and art, while both collaborated on the general design of the game. Both devs actually met while working at Harmonix, which really works out when you're talking about them making a rhythm game. Gibson specifically was working as an effects artist for Harmonix on stuff like multiple Rock Band games, while Fleury had been mainly working on UI programming. And the two had kind of been finding themselves frustrated with how sort of creatively stifling working for a bigger AAA studio could feel. During a no-clip documentary that I was able to find, which was not really a documentary more than it was, we sat these two down at a table and we talked to them about Thumper. They both sort of talked about how they had this idea for this really weird rhythm game. Because, make no mistake, Thumper is a bizarre rhythm game. When my roommate was watching me play it a couple days ago, he was like, I generally don't. It's hard for me to tell where the music matches up, but it does. Like, while you're playing it, you can tell. The music is fully taking part in it. It's one of those rhythm games where what you are doing is making some of the music.
Yes. Jumping and like attaching yourself to the rail again, or defeating enemies, or adding that sound, that rhythm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So they had this idea for it, but if they went to somebody at Harmonix and said, like, we should make this, they'd be laughed out of the room because nobody's going to give a company like Harmonix that much money to make something that experimental. It's just not something AAA studios can do. So they ended up starting Thumper as a side project. Development on the game took 7 years in total. I believe they said like after 5 years is when they left Harmonix. Much of the game was actually developed while working remotely, because Fleury eventually moved to Korea, and Gibson lives in Rhode Island. So a lot of the game was, they said it kind of worked out because one of them is a night owl and the other is a morning person. And so with those time zones kind of matching up.
Yeah, wow.
Perfect for them to be always working together. It actually wasn't even planned as a VR game from the start. Like, it just happened to be in development alongside PSVR, and they figured it kind of slotted really nicely in there by coincidence. It took some finagling to make sure it actually worked well in VR, but it just was a really good coincidence. In fact, this game's initial target wasn't even the PS4. It was the Xbox 360, specifically to release it on the Xbox Live Arcade. So this sure took way longer than they thought it would.
But it makes sense when you consider when they started. Yeah, that was the platform.
Like, that would have been where it came out at first. but it took them way longer to make, and that's usually the story we hear for a lot of indie games. Fleury actually designed the engine for Thumper himself from scratch, from the sound of it. Something he says took years on its own. And apparently it does some really cool stuff with programming. I have no idea what any of it means, but I'll go ahead and read what Wikipedia has to say, because I'm sure it will be for somebody out there. Quote, "The game was praised for its rejection of the object-oriented programming paradigm in favor of a procedural programming approach. Much of the game's code was organized via a small handful of large files, some of which reached 6,000 lines of C++ code." So, like, that second sentence, I get what that means. That first sentence, that's for somebody, I suppose. Somebody's going to know what that means. Fleury also says, like, quote, "Brian and I started exploring how a music game might work if it was stripped down and simple. A game where the gameplay and actions seem like real physical sound effects in the world. Of course, other rhythm games influenced us, but we wanted to avoid repeating the typical genre tropes. We wanted to make something that was an intense, overwhelming experience and not just another music game." And that was specifically when asked if games like, I mentioned earlier, Audiosurf were inspirations towards the game. And intense, overwhelming experience, that's Thumper.
To a T, perfectly. Yep.
Because it is one of the most stressful games I've ever played in my life. One of the most important parts of Thumper was its sense of speed, which if you've played Thumper, you know exactly what that means. The game always feels like it is moving incredibly fast. And this speed apparently came in steps, like implementing it. Starting with how fast the Space Beetle moves. They made it so that the beetle was moving as fast as it possibly could, while still making sure that gameplay information was legible. Because, like, obviously, in a rhythm game, if you're moving too fast, then the player does not have time to react to anything. So it was a question of how fast is the upper limit to human reflexes, essentially.
Also why it feels out of control always.
Yes. From there, they just did a bunch of tricks to make it seem like it was moving even faster than it was. Pulling the camera in close was one of them. Adding camera shake whenever you hit something. And then also there's a bunch of blur effects and motion streaking, and the beetle is always vibrating, and this makes it seem like you are moving way, way faster than you actually are. Thumper received generally positive reviews upon release, with sites like PC Gamer even claiming that it was one of the best rhythm games ever made. And honestly, despite the fact that I will never beat it, I'm inclined to agree that it's definitely up there. It's not one of my favorite rhythm games, but it is definitely one of the best. A lot of reviewers especially praised the experience of playing it in VR, which, again, I've never done it. It sounds amazing. It sounds absolutely terrifying. I guess that's another game on the VR list for if I ever visit again.
Yep.
To try, and I'll show you all how a real gamer plays Thumper until the end of level 3, in which case, that's it. That's as far as I can get. It currently sits at a Metacritic score of 86. There is like I mentioned, a short no-clip interview with both devs that I got a good chunk of this info from, but there's also something that I actually didn't have a chance to watch before this episode. I really did want to just put it on in the background, but it's like an hour long, and I just never had a good time to do it. But Mark Fleury actually did a full post-mortem at GDC, and that whole talk is on YouTube. So definitely go check that out if you want to learn possibly more about the development of Thumper. I am definitely going to watch it at some point. Postmortems at GDC are my favorite kind of talk.
They're deep, but they're fascinating, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're so fascinating, especially if you have any interest in how games are made. Like, postmortems are the place to go.
I mean, for our Doom episode is where we got all the information on the Doom machine.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
So, not only did Brian Gibson do all of the art for the game, he also composed the soundtrack. So let's get into the background of Brian Gibson. He was born July 25th, 1975 in Providence, Rhode Island. He is an artist who, again, was working at Harmonix from 2001 to 2015, when he quit to help found Drool, and work on Thumper full time. So he was there for pretty much the heyday of Rock Band. And I think he was even there for the creation of Guitar Hero from the sound of it. Gibson is primarily a bassist by trade. He is best known in the music world for being the bassist of the American noise rock band Lightning Bolt. I was not familiar with them before this, but apparently they are a pretty well-known band in those circles. He is also apparently quite famous around certain parts for his unique and complex ways of playing his bass, such as implementing advanced guitar techniques, and he even regularly uses standard cello tuning on his bass. And also, from what I can tell, it was kind of weird the way it was worded, but I think Wikipedia was trying to tell me that he is also known for replacing one of his bass strings with a banjo string. So that's cool. Because of his frequent use of distortion, layering, and his general playing style, he's often mistaken for a guitarist instead of a bassist. So what I gathered from all that information is that he is a bassist who plays bass like no other bassist in the world, and that is super rad. As for his discography, Thumper appears to be his only work on a game's soundtrack. Like I said, when he worked at Harmonix, he was mainly doing like UI art and stuff like that. But he has been featured on at least 12 albums from 1999 to 2019 through his work with Lightning Bolt and a couple other bands. He hasn't done a lot of game soundtracks outside of Thumper. But this is where the really interesting stuff comes in, because let's talk about the actual historical development research on Thumper. Oh man. I didn't know this before this research, but this is so cool. Each level's music has a time signature that is based on the level number.
Stop it.
This was confirmed by Mark Fleury when somebody asked about it on the game's Steam community page, and somebody was able to deduce that starting at level 1, the music is in 1-2, 2-4, 3-4, 4-4, 5-8, 6-8, 7-8, 8-8, 9-8.
9-8.
That's so cool, isn't it?
That's fascinating. I love that.
Like, that's so neat. That's such a neat little detail that, like, you would have to be super ingrained in music to ever even notice. Gibson says that his main goal for the soundtrack was to create something that fit the dark atmosphere of the world around you, seamlessly integrating with the visuals. A+ job on that. He wanted it to be, in his own words, quote, music that somebody might not necessarily recognize as music, but would have all the qualities of music to make you feel emotions. Again, A+ on that. Surprising nobody, one of the main influences on the game's music, and I assume on some of their visuals too, was the soundtrack for the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, which definitely checks out. You can actually go purchase the soundtrack to Thumper on Brian Gibson's Bandcamp page at briangibson.bandcamp.com, and you can even buy it on vinyl on Bandcamp, which honestly is another one to add to my hypothetical maybe one day I'll buy a bunch of soundtracks on vinyl list. That list is already really long, and when I finally break down, I will have no money and none of you will ever hear from me again.
I would say, yeah, you're in trouble when that happens.
So, how does this game sound? Because I've been talking up a lot about how it sounds super weird. Let's get into it with the 5 critical tracks. The first one being Triangle. This is basically what to expect from the soundtrack of Thumper. The song is surreal, it's loud, it's really in your face, and I wouldn't say that the word pleasant to listen to could be used to describe it, and yet also, it's really cool. I really like listening to this song. This is by far my favorite song on the soundtrack. It plays during level 1, like just different parts of level 1. It's just so so cool. It sounds so unique. And when put in the game, like, I'll be real, past this, I don't know where most of these songs play. I'm a little bit busy when I'm playing Thumper. And even when I'm watching Thumper, I have trouble keeping track of where these songs play. So just heads up on that. But, oh, this song is so cool. And it's such a good introduction to how Thumper is going to sound in general. Ugh.
Yeah, this is the one track you need to know about Thumper. It's the one that, when I tried the game, hearing this again, definitely brought back all of that. And it's like, oh yeah, this is the one. Yeah, wow, what a good... It's just relentless. That's really what it is. The piece itself starts a little more subdued with the bass going. But I hear it in the clip, it's non-stop.
Which is essentially describing the gameplay of Thumper as well. Never stops. You do not have a chance to breathe, and the music definitely brings that across very well. Speaking of you don't get a chance to breathe, let's get into critical track number 2, Road. More hard drums. This is horror music. This is horror music to a T. But no, you're just playing a rhythm game. It's just a rhythm game. Just hearing this song stresses me out. I don't really have a lot more to say about it other than just hearing this song. I don't even know if I made it to the level that this plays in. It stresses me out hearing it.
Yeah, it's definitely like Resident Evil action music.
Yeah, it feels like you're being chased by something.
Yeah, whether it's Mr. X or Nemesis, like, throw this in Resident Evil and tell me it wouldn't fit.
It fit perfectly.
So good. I feel like there isn't a ton of variation on so many of these because, like, it's given you the same feelings that Gibson wants to portray, and it does such a good job of it. But yeah, another really, really intense piece.
Absolutely. And then we get into what actually might be a close second for my favorite song on the Critical 5. It's critical track number 3, Tunnel. This song starts out surprisingly calm, and then suddenly it just goes hard. Like, just immediately. Which, again, welcome to Thumper. That's what playing Thumper is like. I also happened to notice while re-listening to it a couple of times before the episode, this song is EQ'd to sound like you're going through a tunnel at high speeds.
Yeah.
And it feels really weird to listen to.
Wow. I mean, God, just imagine it in VR. Like, it's gotta be so surreal.
I want to experience it so bad. Damn pandemic. Can't go to Michigan right now. But, like, it legitimately feels bizarre to listen to. Almost like you're on an airplane while you're listening to it. It's really neat. And I think it's a neat little EQ trick.
You're absolutely right. It's another trick. And it's, just adding to that instability. And that unsettling feeling that you have while playing it, needing to be perfect.
And from there, we're going to get into critical track number 4, Head. think this is the final boss theme. And yeah, that's right. Again, I need to reiterate. I said it before. Thumper has boss fights. And they're really hard. Like, really, really hard. You mentioned earlier, like, you kind of, for the most part in Thumper, have to get it perfect or you will die. And that's not 100% the case, because you get a second chance. You can fail twice before you lose. Not with the bosses. With the bosses, if you don't get it perfect, you don't get to damage them. And so they're very hard. And honestly, there's a horn part that is part of this, like a sort of leitmotif with a dun, 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 that is actually present multiple times in the game. Pretty much every level ends on a confrontation with the giant head. And that sort of horn part is usually what announces its arrival. But like, this song is so evil. It's so evil sounding. And oh man, like, it's actually kind of frightening to listen to. I absolutely adore this soundtrack and I adore this song, and oh, it's weird to listen to.
The hard drum hits in particular are especially great because it just adds even more power and emphasis to the rhythm that you are creating with your movement. It's like there's always something like plotting behind you. It's really powerful. Not as frenetic as the other pieces here, but yet just as foreboding.
Mm-hmm. And then I think after this, like, critical track number 5, I think is the most unique piece on the soundtrack, because it is critical track number 5, Beetle. And this is actually the credits music that I will never hear myself. I had to go look it up to make sure that was the case, because I'll never hear it on my own. And honestly, it kind of sounds very 80s sci-fi movie-ish. And I think it's like, it keeps the heavy drums and the sort of foreboding feeling, but it's pretty different from everything else on the soundtrack, but not in a way where it doesn't fit the aesthetic. I think it still fits Thumper's aesthetic very well.
Sure.
And it's just it's a very cool song.
Yeah, but then again, you're right. It's different because the danger's over.
Because you win.
You won. Credits roll. Congratulations.
You can breathe for the first time, and I think Thumper's about 3 hours long if you get it perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely fits being different. Now, for tracks on the cutting room floor, there is actually one other song that is kind of different, but not as different as Beetle. My first track on the cutting room floor is Intro.
Before the danger.
Yeah, now you might notice that this is a little bit more calm than literally every other song on the soundtrack, even though by hearing this song, you are essentially announcing to the world, hey, I'd like to be really stressed for the next few hours. Can you do that for me? To which Thumper will reply, yes, I can do that for you, friend. I can do that for you real well. It's a nice, pretty song that is kind of calm. And this is the title screen music, so...
That makes sense. Yeah, well, hold on to your butts.
Yeah. And then, on a completely different level, the other cutting room floor song is Omega. I think this is the final level of Thumper. And I don't know how else to describe this song. It's a cacophony. Like, this is a cacophony of sound. Constant sound. Always happening. Everything is happening. I've never seen the final level of Thumper. I don't know if I want to see the final level of Thumper. I feel like I would have a heart attack on the spot. But, just in general, this song is really good for bringing about the true feeling of Thumper.
Yeah, it definitely kind of loses its musicality, for sure. But it's really ratcheting up that anxiety while you're putting all of your tools and tricks to the test in that I mean, yeah, Omega is a perfect name for a final level, right? So, wow. Yeah, Cacophony's right, for sure.
And that's Thumper. I don't want to talk anymore about the music because I'm stressed just sitting here talking about it. What will I never forget about Thumper? Again, it is a game I will never beat. I've made my peace with that. I'm never going to beat Thumper, ever. I can try as much as I want. I will never buy this game on the Switch because I would break my Switch in half eventually. So that's out of the question. I will stick with it on PS4. Thank you very much. But also at the same time, like, this is a fantastic game that I think everybody should give a shot. Maybe not if you're just starting out in video games. This probably isn't the game that you want to try.
Oh no. Yeah, no.
This is a high level game. But like, if you like rhythm games, and particularly, I know our friend Matt, who hosts Masterpieces with me, at PAX at one point, we were demoing a game called Avicii and Vector, where he decided, I'm going to try hard mode, because a lot of rhythm games, as he said, list hard mode, and then it's actually not that hard. And then the game proceeded to kick his ass 9 ways from Sunday, and he was like, that's a sign of a really good rhythm game. I'm down with it. This is a rhythm game that will not only kick your ass 6 ways from Sunday, it will then turn around, send you back in time, and then do it again.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the hardest games I've ever played in my life, and it is fantastic for it.
Yeah, I think we have some listeners that would be interested in trying it if they have not already. And hopefully your take on the game and its soundtrack have helped inspire that. There are a lot of places that you can play Thumper. And also search the internet Thumper game, because otherwise you're going to get the rabbit
from Bambi. Which is a very different vibe.
When you're trying to look up Thumper wallpaper for album art for YouTube thumbnails and the like, yeah, you don't need any rabbits. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I agree. I wanted to play this game this week, but I really wanted to do it in VR, and right now my VR system is taken apart. Not the actual unit, just in cables and things like that. It's console elsewhere. Regardless, it's one I always toy with, like actually trying in more than just a demo form, but wow, is it hard. You're right. But in a week where both games are all about tracks on wildly disparate levels of difficulty, that will do it for us this week on Original Soundchat. You can find me on Twitter at PeteSpeakeasy. Joe is over at the Robaga. The video version of the show is on the Rhymes with Asia YouTube channel, also at rhymeswithasia.com. But it's that MP3 podcast version that you want on Anonymous Dinosaur over at anondino.squarespace.com. That's where you can find Joe's other podcast, Smasterpieces. And you can find that and Original Soundchat on podcast storefronts all around the globe. Apple Podcast, do we say YouTube Music? Whatever Google is figuring out with their podcast platform.
I have no idea.
And then also on Spotify, where we have the podcast feed there, but also a big Spotify playlist where if we've talked about a video game music track on the show and it's on Spotify, it's going on that list. Joe, anything this week being added?
Obviously no Mario Kart. It's a first-party Nintendo game. It's just never going to happen. One day it will happen, and it will not only break my brain, but also I'll have so many games that I'll need to add to the playlist. But Thumper is in fact on Spotify. So that's cool. Also, as an aside, earlier today, which will date the recording, on the day of recording, I actually set up a playlist for just game soundtracks on Spotify of games that came out in 2020. So it's currently got stuff like Ori and the Will of the Wisp, Resident Evil 3. It's got Carrion on there currently. A couple other soundtracks. Obviously, some of the standouts are gone. They're not on there. But yeah, I am trying to put that together. If you see one that I'm missing, please let me know. You can find a link actually in my pinned tweets. So
there you go. More video game music goodness for you there. And when you're done listening to all that, you can find us, the show, on social media at Soundchat OST. You can leave some feedback for us, how we're doing, and also some suggestions for games you'd like us to cover in the future. Best of 2018 is being edited at the moment. Hopefully comes out soon. In 2017, we are finishing up details so we can hopefully record that soon as well. Joe, who are we talking about next week?
I will be talking about Megan McDuffie.
I will be talking about Ludowick. Interesting games to talk about there, for sure. All right, Joe, let's play us out.
So, big surprise, I could not find many covers of Thumper because how do you cover Thumper? But I did manage to find a YouTuber by the name of Captain Jewel. That's Captain Jul. And he did what he calls a beat soundtrack remake for Thumper, which was pretty cool and was legit the closest I could find to anybody covering or remixing this game's music. And luckily, it's pretty good. So please enjoy that.
Thank you so much for listening this week on Original Sound Chat. We'll see you next time. Take care.